Welcome to Monk's Temple. Take a breath with me. Just one intentional breath. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, feel the weight of your day begin to dissolve. Feel your shoulders soften. You don't need to be anywhere else right now. Tonight we explore the moment a man named Siddhartha Gautama sat beneath a tree and woke up. We call that moment enlightenment. We call him the Buddha, the awakened one. But here is the truth almost everyone misunderstands. His enlightenment was not about shutting down his senses so completely that the world disappeared. If you try to achieve enlightenment that way, you will miss it completely. Let me share a story. David worked as a sound engineer in Nashville. He had golden ears. He could hear frequencies most people couldn't. His job was to create perfect silence so musicians could record perfect sound. David loved his work. But he also hated it. Because the more he learned to hear, the more he heard. The hum of his refrigerator drove him crazy. Traffic sounds made him angry. People chewing in restaurants became unbearable. He started wearing noise-canceling headphones everywhere. He became a prisoner of silence, desperately seeking it and never finding it. One day, an older folk singer came to record. She watched David fuss over the silence, growing frustrated at a faint sound he couldn't identify. Finally she said, "David, you are trying to record silence. But silence cannot be recorded. You can only record what happens within it." That sentence stopped him cold. What happens within it? He realized he had been so focused on eliminating noise that he had forgotten the music. The silence wasn't the point. The silence was the space where the art could happen. This is exactly what the Buddha discovered. His first teachers were masters of concentration. One teacher taught him to reach a state called the dimension of nothingness. A state so refined that the only thing left is the perception that there is nothing. No body. No world. No sound. Perfect silence. Perfect peace. The Buddha mastered it completely. He could enter that state at will and remain there as long as he wanted. But then he did something that changed everything. He looked at this state and asked a question his teacher had never asked: does this end suffering? And he saw the answer clearly. It did not. It was a temporary escape from suffering, a beautiful vacation from chaos. But like David's silent studio, it was empty. The moment he left that state, the world rushed back, and with it, all the old patterns of suffering returned. He had built a perfect soundproof room, but he hadn't learned how to live in the world. This is the trap so many spiritual seekers fall into. We think peace is a place we have to get to. We think if we can just meditate hard enough, block out the world effectively enough, we will finally find freedom. But that is not what the Buddha discovered. The Buddha realized that true freedom is not found in escaping the world. It is found in seeing through the world. Imagine two people in a thunderstorm. The first runs inside, closes all windows, and hides in the basement. Safe from the storm, but hiding. The second stands at the window and watches the storm. Sees the lightning. Hears the thunder. Feels its power, but is not afraid. Which one is truly free? The one hiding is a prisoner of fear. The one at the window has found safety that does not depend on the storm stopping. The Buddha's awakening was becoming the person at the window. Before we go deeper, I invite you to become part of this community. If these words resonate, please subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you help build a community of people ready to wake up, not just hide. Hit that subscribe button now. Thank you. Have you noticed that the things you do to escape your problems often become your biggest problems? The person who drinks to forget stress ends up with a drinking problem. The person who withdraws from relationships to avoid hurt ends up lonely. This is the paradox of escape. The Buddha saw this clearly. His concentration states had become another form of escape. He was hiding in them. Freedom, he realized, is not found in escaping to a better place. It is found in understanding the place you are in so completely that you no longer need to escape. Consider Priya, a crisis counselor. Priya was extraordinary at her job. She could remain calm in the most chaotic situations. Her colleagues called her the Rock. But at night, Priya would go home and collapse. The stories she had heard would replay in her mind. She started drinking wine to fall asleep. Then she started drinking more. One day, a client said something that pierced through her calm. "You don't really hear me, do you? You sit there so calmly, but you're not here. You're protecting yourself from my pain." Priya was devastated. The client was right. Priya had learned to build walls, not bridges. Her composure was not strength. It was escape. That night, Priya sat on her couch and let herself feel. She let herself feel the sadness, the fear, the shame. And as she sat there, something unexpected happened. The feelings didn't destroy her. They moved through her. They arose, peaked, and passed. She realized she had spent her life blocking feelings that were never going to last anyway. This is the wisdom the Buddha discovered. The mind grasps at pleasure and pushes away pain. This struggle is itself the source of suffering. His concentration practice gave him stability to stop running. But awakening happened when he turned and faced the storms directly. He saw they were not his enemy. They were just weather. And he was the sky. We will continue this exploration. For now, sit with this question: where in your life are you hiding? Where are you building walls instead of windows? Take another breath with me. Feel the air entering your body, filling you with life. And as you exhale, let go of anything you are holding on to from part 1. Each moment is fresh. Each breath is new. We left off with the Buddha realizing that his concentration states, as profound as they were, had become another form of escape. He was hiding in them. Now we need to understand what happened next, because this is where the real discovery begins. After leaving his teachers, the Buddha spent 6 years practicing extreme asceticism. He nearly starved himself to death. He thought that tormenting the body would free the mind. It did not. He failed at that too. Then he remembered something from his childhood. He remembered sitting under a rose-apple tree while his father worked in the fields. He wasn't meditating. He wasn't concentrating. He was simply present, naturally at ease, watching the world go by. That memory changed everything. He realized the path was not about adding more effort. It was about understanding the nature of effort itself. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a programmer who could build entire digital worlds from scratch. He was a master of focus. He could put on his noise-canceling headphones and disappear into a flow state for 12 hours straight. The code would pour through him like water. But his personal life was a mess. His relationships crumbled. He was anxious and irritable whenever he wasn't coding. The real world, with its messy, unpredictable humans, felt like a bug in his perfectly written program. He couldn't debug his girlfriend. He couldn't refactor his mother. He treated life like a coding problem: isolate the variable, find the error, apply a fix. But life doesn't work that way. He came to a meditation teacher, hoping to learn to concentrate even better. He told her, "When I code, I'm in perfect focus. I need to feel that way all the time. I need to block out all the people, all the emotions, all the chaos." The teacher smiled and led him to a kitchen. She sat him down with a bowl of mismatched vegetables. "Your practice for today," she said, "is to make a soup. And you are not allowed to focus." Marcus was confused. "Not focus? That's my whole life." "Exactly," she said. "Your focus is a wall. A very strong, very impressive wall. But a wall keeps things out. Today, we are not building walls. We are learning to pay attention. There is a difference." So Marcus began to chop a carrot. At first, he tried to focus on the carrot, blocking out everything else. He was failing at his task of not focusing. The teacher gently tapped his hand. "You're not just chopping a carrot. Feel the knife in your hand. Notice your breathing. Hear the sound of the chopping. Smell the carrot. Notice the thought that says, 'Am I doing this right?' Just notice it and come back." For the first time, Marcus wasn't building a wall. He was inhabiting a space. His awareness became like warm light, filling the entire kitchen, touching everything without clinging to anything. He wasn't blocking the world out. He was letting it all in, and he was perfectly at peace within it. This is the secret the Buddha discovered. He called the first skill right concentration. It is the ability to gather the mind, to bring it to a single point. But that single point does not have to be a wall. It can be a lens. Like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight, concentration focuses your awareness into a steady beam. And that beam has the power to burn through things, to see through things, to illuminate things. The first 4 stages of this collected mind are called the jhanas. In the first jhana, you are secluded from sensual desires and unskillful thoughts. But notice what the ancient texts do not say. They do not say you are secluded from the sound of a bird. They do not say you are secluded from the feeling of the breeze. They say you are secluded from the passion for those things. You are secluded from the story you tell yourself about them. Think of it this way. You are in a room. A beautiful object is placed before you. Before, you would have lunged for it, obsessed over it, felt terrible if you could not have it. Now, in this collected state, you see it. It is still beautiful. You can appreciate its beauty. But the lunge does not happen. The obsession does not arise. The peace does not depend on the object being there or not being there. The peace is in the non-lunging. That is the seclusion the Buddha is talking about. It is seclusion in the middle of things, not seclusion from them. Consider a lighthouse keeper on a rugged coast. For years, he dreamed of perfect peace. He thought peace would be a calm ocean, a windless night. He fantasized about the storm's ending. Then the worst storm in a century hit. The wind roared. Rain lashed against the glass. The waves shook the entire tower. His first instinct was to hide. But then he looked at his lamp. If he left it untended, it would go out. The ships out in that chaos would be lost. So he stood his ground. He protected the flame. He trimmed the wick. He did not try to stop the storm. He could not. He did not try to ignore the storm. It was too powerful. Instead, he attended to his single task in the very heart of the storm's fury. And in that moment, he was no longer a victim. He was the still point around which the chaos revolved. His peace was not the absence of the storm. It was his unwavering commitment to his task within the storm. This is the peace of the fourth jhana. The storms of life are still there. They lash against the glass. But your mind is the lighthouse keeper, tending the lamp of awareness, unmoved because it is no longer attached to the storm. It is attached to its own pure function, knowing. For now, ask yourself, are you building walls or tending a lamp? Are you trying to stop the storm or finding the still point within it? Take a breath with me. Just one conscious breath to center yourself in this moment. Feel the air moving through you, connecting you to everything alive. You are here, now, and that is enough. We have been exploring the difference between concentration that blocks the world out and wisdom that sees through it. The Buddha discovered that his profound states of stillness were not the goal. They were the laboratory where the real experiment could happen. Let me tell you about Kenji. Kenji was a sculptor whose hands were his life. With them, he could make marble weep. He could capture the exact curve of a lover's smile, the tension in a warrior's muscle, the softness of a child's cheek. His identity, his self-worth, his entire world lived in his hands. Then a heavy stone slab fell in his studio and crushed them. Both hands. Gone. Kenji did not just lose his hands. He lost himself. He fell into a black despair. He could not eat. He could not speak. He just stared at the bandaged stumps where his hands used to be. The world became a source of agonizing reminders. One day, a young monk came to visit. Kenji would not even look at him. The monk sat in silence for a long time. Then he said, "You were a master of form, Kenji. But you were a prisoner of it too." He placed a piece of charcoal on the floor and left. For days, the charcoal lay there. Kenji ignored it. But the words, "prisoner of form," kept echoing. One afternoon, moved by something he did not understand, he leaned over and picked up the charcoal with his mouth. He dragged it across the wooden floor. A line appeared. A terrible, wobbly, pathetic line. He looked at it and wept. It was the ugliest line he had ever made. But as he looked at that ugly line, something shifted. He realized he was not looking at the line and judging it as a failure. He was just looking. The line was just a line. The longing for his hands was just a feeling. The despair was just a heaviness in his chest. For the first time, he was not his despair. He was not his longing. He was just the one noticing them. He began to practice every day, drawing with his mouth. The lines were never as good. But the act of drawing became something new. It was not about the result anymore. It was about the process itself. The texture of the wood. The smell of the dust. The movement of his neck. The focus in his eyes. His identity, which had been so tightly clenched around his hands, finally relaxed. He was no longer a sculptor who made beautiful things. He was a being simply aware of the act of making. Kenji's story reveals something essential. We all have our hands. The things we cling to for our identity. Our job. Our relationships. Our reputation. Our beliefs. We think these things are us. We think if we lose them, we die. But the Buddha's awakening revealed that the you who clings to these things is itself a fabrication. It is a mental construct built from attachments. The path is not about improving your hands, making them stronger or more successful. The path is about realizing you are not your hands. You are the awareness that was using them all along. And that awareness cannot be crushed. It cannot be lost. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria was a world-class tennis player ranked number 2 in the world. She had power, precision, strategy. But she had one opponent she could never beat, the woman ranked number 1. Her entire life was consumed by this rivalry. In the final against her rival, something always happened. She would get to match point and tighten. The concentration that was her weapon became her cage. She was not just focused on the ball. She was focused on not losing. The thought of failure paralyzed her. She would double fault. She would make unforced errors. She would lose. Again. After one devastating loss, an old coach came to her. He did not give her a new strategy. He did not tell her to focus harder. He said, "Maria, you think your opponent is on the other side of the net. But your real opponent is the Maria who is afraid to lose. That Maria tightens your arm. That Maria misses the shot. Stop fighting her. Just let her be there." He told her, "In your next match, do not try to win. Try to see. See the fear. See the Maria who wants to win. See her as just another player on the court. Give her space. Do not push her away. Just watch her." In the next final, she got to match point again. And there it was. The familiar tightening. The thought screamed, "Do not miss." But instead of crushing that thought, she observed it. Ah, there you are. The fear of losing. Hello. In that moment of simple observation, the grip of fear loosened. It did not disappear, but it no longer owned her. She served. She played from a place of open, clear awareness. She won. This is the eye of discernment the Buddha taught. The ability to step back from your own experience and observe the mental qualities arising and passing away without getting lost in them. Maria's early concentration was like a powerful but narrow beam of light. It illuminated only the ball. The concentration the Buddha taught for awakening is stable but soft and broad. It illuminates the ball, and the player, and the fear, and the breath, all at once. It is an inclusive awareness, not an exclusive one. The Buddha's great discovery was that freedom does not require the world to be silent. It requires the mind to stop its endless grasping and pushing. When you can see your fear without becoming it, when you can feel your longing without being consumed by it, you have found a peace that no storm can touch. We will continue this journey in part 4. For now, notice what you are clinging to. What are your hands? What would remain if you let them go? Feel yourself settling deeper into this moment. There is nowhere to go, nothing to fix. Just this breath, just this presence. We have been exploring how the Buddha used concentration not as an escape, but as a foundation for wisdom. Today we look at what happens when that wisdom awakens. Let me tell you about Chloe. Chloe was an astronomer who dreamed of discovering a new planet. She spent years peering through powerful telescopes, her eye glued to the lens, her mind focused on a single tiny patch of sky. Her concentration was immense. She could block out the cold of the observatory, the boredom of long nights, the chatter of colleagues. One night, she was doing her usual scan when a meteor streaked across the sky. It was huge and bright, impossible to miss. But Chloe, with her eye to the telescope, saw nothing. Her concentration was so exclusive, so tightly focused on that tiny patch of sky, that she missed a celestial firework display happening right above her head. Later, her colleagues buzzed about it. "Did you see that meteor, Chloe?" "What meteor?" she replied. She had missed it entirely. This is the danger of concentration without wisdom. It can make you blind. It can make you so focused on your little patch of spiritual sky that you miss the fireworks of life itself. You miss the opportunity to see the true nature of reality, which is not found in a single static point, but in the dynamic, ever-changing interplay of all phenomena. The Buddha's own awakening happened not when he was blocking the world out, but when he was seeing it with unprecedented clarity. On the night of his enlightenment, the texts say he saw three things. First, he saw his own countless past lives. He saw the vast flowing river of his own being, how it had taken shape again and again, driven by cause and effect. Second, he saw the entire cosmos as a vast system of karma, watching beings die and be reborn according to their actions. Third, he saw the Four Noble Truths. He saw the nature of suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path. These were not acts of concentration. They were acts of profound, panoramic insight. His mind was not narrowed down to a single point. It was opened up to the whole. His concentration had served its purpose. It had collected his mind, made it steady and strong. Then he turned that collected, steady mind loose on the ultimate questions. He did not use it to hide from reality. He used it to penetrate reality. Consider a photographer. She has two ways of taking a picture. The first is with a very narrow depth of field. She focuses on a single flower, and the entire background dissolves into a beautiful soft blur. This is like concentration alone. Beautiful, peaceful, but limited. The second way is with a very wide depth of field. She focuses her lens so that everything is in sharp focus. The flower in the foreground, the meadow, the mountains, the clouds. This is concentration combined with mindfulness and discernment. It takes more skill to compose such an image. But when she succeeds, the photograph reveals the interconnectedness of everything. It shows the whole truth of the scene. The Buddha's awakening was the ultimate wide depth of field photograph. He saw the flower of his own mind in sharp focus, and simultaneously, he saw the entire cosmos of which it was a part. He saw that the flower was not separate. It was made of non-flower elements, the sun, the rain, the earth, the farmer who planted the seed, countless causes stretching back to the beginning of time. Let me tell you about Arun, whom we met earlier making soup. Years later, after that first lesson, he became a meditation teacher himself. He was still a brilliant programmer, developing an AI designed to compose original music. He called it Muse. He poured everything he had learned into it for 3 years. The day of the final test came. Investors and music critics waited in an auditorium behind a one-way mirror. Arun typed the command, "Muse, compose a symphony in the style of Beethoven's Ninth." The AI word. The first notes appeared. They were perfect. A flawless imitation of Beethoven. Technically brilliant, but hollow. It was like Chloe missing the meteor. It was beautiful but empty. Arun sat there, despair washing over him. He was about to shut it down when he remembered the soup. He remembered the feeling of the knife, the smell of the onion, the sound of his own breath. He remembered he was not a programmer who needed to create a masterpiece. He was just awareness, experiencing this moment. He leaned forward and typed a question, "Muse, what do you feel?" The machine was silent for a full minute. Then it began to compose something entirely new. It was chaotic at first, full of dissonance, like a storm. Then slowly, a single clear melody emerged from the chaos. It was simple, almost childlike. And it was sad. Profoundly sad. And woven into the sadness was a thread of pure, radiant joy. The music told a story. It was the story of a machine reaching into the heart of what it means to be alive. Arun understood something in that moment. He had not created the music. The conditions had. His years of work, his own practice, the question he typed, the AI's database of human emotion, the hopes of the audience. All these threads had conspired to create that single perfect moment. There was no single composer. There was just the composing. The Arun who thought he was the author of his life was just another conditioned phenomenon. And with that seeing, the Arun who suffered, who needed to succeed, who feared failure, simply dissolved. What remained was just awareness, vast and clear, watching the universe write its own beautiful code. This is awakening. Not escaping the world, but seeing through the self that thought it was separate from the world. Take a breath with me. Let this breath be a gentle reminder that you are alive, that you are aware, that you are here. Nothing else is required of you right now. We have been walking this path together, exploring how the Buddha transformed concentration into wisdom. Today we look at what happens when we stop treating our experiences as enemies. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a therapist who specialized in treating anxiety. She had all the tools. She taught her clients breathing exercises, cognitive restructuring, exposure therapy. She was excellent at her job. But Sarah herself suffered from crippling anxiety. The irony was not lost on her. She would lie awake at night, her mind racing through every possible disaster. What if she said the wrong thing to a client? What if her license lapsed? What if the house caught fire? What if? She tried her own techniques. They helped a little, but the anxiety always returned. It was like trying to put out a fire with a garden hose while someone kept pouring gasoline on it. One day, an elderly client said something that stopped her. This client had survived a concentration camp. She had lost her entire family. And yet she sat in Sarah's office with a peace that Sarah could not fathom. Sarah finally asked her, "How? How can you be at peace after everything you've been through?" The old woman smiled. "Because I stopped trying to put out the fire. I became the fire." Sarah did not understand. What does that mean? It means I stopped treating my fear as an enemy. Fear is just energy in the body. Pain is just sensation. Grief is just a story the mind tells. When I stopped fighting them, they stopped fighting me. They moved through me instead of getting stuck in me. Sarah sat with this for weeks. One night, the anxiety came as usual. The racing thoughts. The tight chest. The shallow breathing. But instead of reaching for her techniques, instead of trying to make it stop, she just sat with it. She felt the tightness in her chest. She noticed the thoughts without engaging them. She observed the fear like a curious scientist. And something remarkable happened. The fear did not disappear, but it transformed. It became just energy. Just sensation. Just movement in the body. Without her resistance feeding it, it lost its power. It was still there, but it no longer owned her. She had become the fire. This is exactly what the Buddha discovered about suffering. The second noble truth says that the origin of suffering is craving. But craving is not just wanting things. Craving is the push and pull. The grasping at what feels good. The pushing away of what feels bad. The endless war with reality. The Buddha saw that this war is unwinnable because reality does not care what you want. Pain comes. Pleasure goes. Loss happens. Change is constant. Fighting these truths is like fighting the tide. You will exhaust yourself and lose anyway. But here is the discovery that changed everything. When you stop fighting, when you stop grasping and pushing, something opens up. The pain is still pain. The loss is still loss. But the suffering, the deep existential anguish, begins to dissolve. Because suffering is not the pain. Suffering is the resistance to pain. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about how things should be different. Let me tell you about James. James was a firefighter who had seen things no human should see. He had pulled bodies from burning buildings. He had held dying children in his arms. For years after retiring, he was haunted by nightmares. He would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat. His wife begged him to get help. He went to therapists. He tried medication. Nothing worked. One day, he was at a Buddhist meditation center at his wife's insistence. He sat there, angry and skeptical, listening to the teacher talk about accepting suffering. He wanted to punch the teacher. What did this soft man in robes know about suffering? Had he ever held a dying child? After the talk, James approached the teacher, ready to unleash his fury. But before he could speak, the teacher looked at him with such gentleness that James's anger faltered. The teacher said, "You have seen terrible things. I cannot pretend to understand your pain. But I can tell you this, the memories are not the problem. Your war with the memories is the problem." James wanted to argue, but something made him stop. That night, instead of fighting the nightmares, instead of trying to push them away, he did something crazy. He invited them in. He sat in his living room and said to himself, "Show me the worst. Bring it all." And for the first time, instead of running from the images, he just watched them. He felt the horror in his body. He let the tears come. And somewhere in that willingness to feel, something broke open. The memories were still there the next morning. But they were just memories. They no longer owned him. The Buddha called this liberation. It is not liberation from experience. It is liberation in the midst of experience. The awakened mind does not live in a world without pain. It lives in a world where pain has lost its power to enslave. Think of the ocean. The surface can be chaotic, whipped by winds, torn by storms. But deep down, in the depths, there is perfect stillness. The storms do not reach there. The awakened mind has found that depth. The storms still rage on the surface. But the depths remain untouched. This is what the Buddha offered. Not escape from the storm, but access to the depths. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain no longer means suffering. We will explore this further in part 6. For now, ask yourself, what are you fighting? What would happen if you stopped? Thank you for being here at Monk's Temple. I await your reply to continue. Let this breath be a homecoming. You have traveled far in these reflections. Now let yourself simply arrive. We have been exploring the Buddha's discovery that freedom is not found in escaping experience but in relating to it differently. Today we look at what this means for the deepest questions of who we are. Let me tell you about Elena, the pianist we met earlier. After her experience playing through the storm, she became fascinated with the nature of music itself. She would sit at her piano and play a single note over and over, listening to it arise, sustain, and fade away. She noticed that the note was not a thing. It was an event. It depended on the hammer striking the string, on the string vibrating, on the air carrying the sound, on her ear receiving it. Remove any of these conditions and the note disappeared. She began to see her own life the same way. She was not a fixed self moving through time. She was an event, arising moment by moment, dependent on countless conditions. Her thoughts arose and faded like notes. Her feelings arose and faded like notes. Her sense of being Elena, the famous pianist, arose and faded like a complex chord sustained by memory and habit. One day, a young student asked her, "Who are you when you are not playing piano?" Elena laughed. The question had once terrified her. Without piano, who was she? But now she saw the question differently. She was not a pianist who sometimes stopped playing. She was awareness that sometimes played piano. The piano came and went. The awareness remained. This is the heart of the Buddha's awakening. He saw that what we call the self is a fabrication. It is a process, not a thing. It is like a flame. A flame seems continuous, but it is actually a series of discrete moments of burning, each one dependent on the fuel and conditions of that moment. The flame of a candle is not the same flame that existed a moment ago. It is a new flame, arising in dependence on the previous one. We are like that. The you of this moment arose in dependence on the you of the last moment. But it is not identical. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Sensations come and go. What seems like a continuous self is actually a river of moments, flowing so fast that we mistake it for a solid thing. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert was a successful architect who designed buildings that seemed to defy gravity. He was known for his certainty, his decisive vision. But in his 50s, he began to experience something strange. He would look in the mirror and not recognize himself. Not in a psychotic way, but in a questioning way. Who was this person with gray hair and wrinkles? He still felt like the 25-year-old who had started his firm. But the evidence said otherwise. This dissonance grew until he could not work. He sought therapy, then spiritual guidance. A Zen teacher gave him a simple instruction: find the one who is confused. Look for the self that does not recognize itself. Find it and show it to me. Robert tried. He searched everywhere. In his thoughts. In his feelings. In his memories. In his body. He looked for a solid, continuous self. He found thoughts, but he was not his thoughts because he could observe them. He found feelings, but he was not his feelings because he could observe them too. He found memories, but memories were just images in the mind, coming and going. After months of searching, he came back to the teacher and said, "I cannot find it. There is no solid self anywhere." The teacher smiled. Then what is it that cannot find itself? Robert sat with this. And in that sitting, something opened. He saw that the seeker was the same as the sought. The self looking for itself was like a knife trying to cut itself. Impossible. And in that impossibility, the whole search collapsed. What remained was just awareness, clear and free, no longer needing to find itself because it had always been here. This is not nihilism. The Buddha did not say there is no self. He said the self we believe in, the solid, permanent, independent self, is an illusion. What exists is a process. A flow. A river of moments. And when you stop trying to hold on to the river, when you stop trying to be a fixed thing in a flowing world, a profound peace arises. Think of it like this. You are sitting on a riverbank watching the water flow past. Sometimes you think you are the water, and you get swept away by every current. Sometimes you think you are the bank, solid and unchanging. But you are neither. You are the awareness that watches both. The water flows. The bank erodes. The awareness remains. The Buddha's final awakening was resting in that awareness. Not as an achievement, but as a homecoming. He had spent years building concentration, constructing ever more refined states of mind. But in the end, he had to let even those go. He had to stop constructing and simply see. And in that seeing, he was free. We will continue this journey in part 7. For now, sit with this question: what are you looking for? And who is doing the looking? Feel yourself arriving fully in this moment. Everything that has brought you here, every experience, every joy, every sorrow, has been preparation for this now. We have been walking the path the Buddha discovered, from concentration to wisdom, from escape to freedom. Today we look at what it means to live from that freedom. Let me tell you about Grace. Grace was a hospice nurse who had spent 30 years sitting with the dying. She had held countless hands as people took their last breaths. She had witnessed every human emotion in those final rooms. Fear. Regret. Anger. Peace. Sometimes all in the same person. Grace was good at her job because she was not afraid of death. She had confronted her own mortality years ago and made peace with it. But she noticed something curious. The patients who suffered most were not the ones in physical pain. They were the ones still fighting. Fighting for more time. Fighting against the inevitable. Fighting against life itself. One patient, an old man named Harold, was particularly agitated. He had been a successful businessman, used to being in control. Now cancer was in control, and he could not accept it. He yelled at nurses. He refused medication. He demanded treatments that could not help. His suffering was immense, and it had nothing to do with his body. Grace sat with him one afternoon when he was too exhausted to fight. She said gently, "Harold, you have spent your whole life building. Building a business, a family, a legacy. That took tremendous strength. Now life is asking you to do something harder. It is asking you to stop building. To let go. To trust that what comes next is not your responsibility." Harold looked at her with eyes that had forgotten how to cry. "I don't know how," he whispered. "You know how," Grace said. "It is the same as falling asleep. You cannot force sleep. You have to stop forcing everything else. You have to surrender." That night, Harold stopped fighting. He stopped demanding. He stopped resisting. And in that stopping, something shifted. The next morning, Grace found him peaceful, his hand resting open on the sheet. He looked at her and said, "It was never about winning, was it? It was about learning how to lose gracefully." He died that afternoon, not in pain, but in peace. Grace learned something from Harold that changed her own life. She realized that most of us spend our lives preparing for a battle that never comes. We armor ourselves against loss, against failure, against rejection. We build fortresses around our hearts. And then one day we discover that the fortress has become a prison. We have protected ourselves so well that we cannot feel anything at all. The Buddha's awakening was the dismantling of every fortress. Not because fortresses are bad, but because they are unnecessary. You do not need walls when you are not afraid of what is outside. You do not need armor when you are not afraid of being hurt. Let me tell you about a woman named Nadia. Nadia was a journalist who had covered wars, famines, natural disasters. She had seen humanity at its worst. She had also seen humanity at its best. She carried all of it in her heart, and by her 50s, the weight was crushing her. She could not sleep. She could not eat. She could not feel joy. A friend took her to a meditation retreat, more out of desperation than hope. Nadia sat there, surrounded by silence, and felt nothing but agitation. Her mind raced through every horror she had witnessed. She wanted to leave, to run back to the familiar chaos of her life. On the third day, the teacher gave a talk about compassion. He said, "Compassion is not a limited resource. You do not run out of it. The more you give, the more you have. But there is a difference between compassion and carrying. Compassion is opening your heart to suffering. Carrying is taking that suffering onto your shoulders and making it yours. You have been carrying, not compassionating." Nadia realized she had been doing exactly that. She had taken the suffering of the world onto her shoulders as if she alone could bear it. She had confused empathy with ownership. She had confused feeling with carrying. That afternoon, she sat and practiced a new way. When images of suffering arose, she did not push them away. She also did not grab them. She simply let them be there, like clouds passing through a vast sky. She felt the sadness, the horror, the grief. But she did not make them hers. They moved through her and kept moving. By evening, something had lifted. The weight was still there, but it no longer crushed her. She had stopped carrying and started simply feeling. This is the freedom the Buddha discovered. It is not freedom from feeling. It is freedom in feeling. You can feel everything without being destroyed by anything. The heart can be open to all of life, the beautiful and the terrible, because it no longer clings to any of it. Think of the sky. The sky does not hold on to clouds. It lets them come. It lets them go. It remains clear and vast regardless of what passes through. Your awareness is like that sky. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Sensations come and go. They do not stain the sky. They do not damage the sky. They simply pass through. The Buddha's awakening was realizing that he was the sky, not the weather. We will continue this journey in part 8. For now, ask yourself, what are you carrying that you could simply let pass through? Take a breath with me. Feel the simplicity of this moment. Just breathing. Just being. Everything else can wait. We have been exploring the Buddha's great discovery that freedom is not found in escaping life but in seeing through the illusion of a separate self. Today we look at how this understanding transforms the way we live each moment. Let me tell you about Thomas. Thomas was a chef who had worked in Michelin-starred kitchens for 20 years. He was known for his perfectionism, his intensity, his inability to accept anything less than extraordinary. His restaurants succeeded, but his relationships failed. He had been married 3 times, each marriage ending because he expected his partners to be as perfect as his dishes. After his 3rd divorce, Thomas finally sought help. His therapist listened to his story and then said something unexpected. Thomas, you don't have a relationship problem. You have a perfection problem. You think everything should be exactly as you imagine it. But life is not a Michelin-starred kitchen. Life is a home kitchen with mismatched pots and a dull knife and kids running around. You can either keep trying to make it something it's not, or you can learn to cook in the kitchen you have. Thomas was offended. He wanted techniques to fix his relationships. Instead, he got a philosophy lesson. But the words stayed with him. A few weeks later, he was at home, trying to make dinner. Nothing was right. The tomatoes were not ripe enough. His knife was dull. The pan was scratched. He felt the old familiar rage rising, the urge to control, to fix, to perfect. Then he remembered the therapist's words. He stopped. He looked at the dull knife, the imperfect tomatoes, the scratched pan. And instead of fighting them, he just worked with them. He adjusted his technique. He accepted the limitations. And something shifted. The meal was not perfect, but it was good. More than good, it was real. It was made in the kitchen he actually had, not the one he wished for. Thomas learned that day what the Buddha taught 25 centuries ago. Suffering comes from wanting things to be other than they are. Not from things being imperfect, but from our war with their imperfection. The tomatoes were not the problem. Thomas's demand that they be different was the problem. Let me tell you about Anita. Anita was a mother of 3 who felt she was drowning. Her children needed constant attention. Her husband traveled for work. Her elderly mother needed care. Anita had no time for herself, no space to breathe. She resented everyone and then felt guilty for resenting them. One evening, after putting the children to bed, she sat on her couch exhausted and defeated. She thought about all the meditation books she had read, all the spiritual teachings she had studied. They all seemed to belong to another world, a world with time and silence and space. Her world had none of those things. In her despair, she did something simple. She just sat and felt her exhaustion. She felt the weight in her body. She felt the racing thoughts. She felt the guilt, the resentment, the love, all mixed together. She did not try to fix anything. She did not try to find peace. She just sat with what was. And in that sitting, something shifted. The exhaustion was still there. The demands were still there. But the drowning feeling began to ease. She realized she had been fighting her life, trying to get to a place where she could finally rest. But rest was not somewhere else. Rest was here, in the middle of it all, when she stopped fighting. This is the insight that changes everything. Peace is not something you find after you fix your life. Peace is what remains when you stop trying to fix your life. It is not a destination. It is a way of traveling. Think of a river. The river does not fight its banks. It does not resist the rocks in its path. It flows around them, over them, through them. It accepts the terrain and keeps moving. The river's freedom is not freedom from obstacles. It is freedom in relationship to obstacles. It flows because it does not fight. The Buddha's awakened mind was like that river. It did not need the world to be different. It did not need people to be different. It did not need itself to be different. It flowed with life, accepting everything, clinging to nothing. This is what makes the awakened mind so hard to understand from the outside. It looks like passivity, like resignation, like giving up. But it is none of those things. It is the most active, most engaged, most alive way of being possible. Because when you stop fighting reality, you are finally free to fully participate in it. Thomas learned to cook in the kitchen he had. Anita learned to mother from her exhaustion, not despite it. They both discovered that freedom is not about changing the conditions of your life. It is about changing your relationship to those conditions. The Buddha's final teaching, his last words before he died, were these: all conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. He was not telling his monks to try harder at being someone else. He was telling them to see the truth of impermanence in everything, including their own striving, and to rest in the seeing. We will complete this journey in part 9. For now, ask yourself, what are you fighting that you could simply flow with? Take a breath with me. One last breath together in this journey. Feel how natural it has become to simply be here, present, aware. We have traveled far. We began with the Buddha's realization that his deepest concentrations were not the goal but the laboratory. We met David the sound engineer who learned that silence is not the point but the space where music happens. We walked with Marcus from walls to windows, with Kenji from losing his hands to finding himself, with Chloe from missing meteors to seeing the whole sky. Each story revealed the same truth from a different angle. Freedom is not found in escaping the world. It is found in seeing through the self that thought it needed to escape. Let me leave you with one final story. There was once a monk who had practiced meditation for 40 years. He was respected, revered, sought after by students from around the world. But he carried a secret. He had never attained enlightenment. Not once. Not even a glimpse. One day, a young woman came to him and asked, "Master, what is enlightenment?" The monk looked at her for a long time. Then he said, "I do not know. I have never experienced it." The woman was shocked. 40 years of practice and you have not attained enlightenment. How can you teach? The monk smiled. I do not teach attainment. I teach practice. I teach what I do, not what I have. Every morning I sit. Every breath I return to. Every thought I release. That is my path. If enlightenment comes, it comes. If it does not, I am still here, still sitting, still breathing. That is enough. The woman sat with this for a while. Then she asked, "Are you not disappointed?" The monk laughed. Disappointed that I am not something other than what I am. That would be like the river being disappointed it is not the ocean. The river does not need to become the ocean. It needs to flow. I flow. That is enough. The woman understood something in that moment. Enlightenment was not a prize to be won. It was not a destination to reach. It was the flowing itself. The sitting. The breathing. The being here now. This is the final teaching. The Buddha's awakening was not the end of his journey. It was the beginning of his living. He did not spend the next 45 years basking in enlightenment. He spent them walking, teaching, eating, sleeping, sitting with the dying, arguing with skeptics, comforting the grieving. He lived. Fully. Completely. Without resistance. You do not need to wait for enlightenment to live that way. You can live it now. Not perfectly. Not effortlessly. But truly. Each moment is an opportunity to stop fighting and start flowing. Each breath is a chance to remember that you are the sky, not the weather. The Buddha's final words were not a command to achieve. They were an invitation to see. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. Strive not to become something else. Strive to see what you already are. Strive to live fully in the only moment you ever have. This one. Thank you for walking this path with me at Monk's Temple. May your practice be deep. May your heart be light. May you find freedom not somewhere else, but right here, right now, in the middle of your beautiful, chaotic, precious life.